We're 15 days out from Election Day, and in an ideal world, this is when candidates would start building momentum. But that's not what Kamala Harris is doing, as Blaze senior political editor Chris Bedford wrote in his latest Beltway brief, and he joins us now to discuss. So, Chris, what is Kamala doing right now, and why is this different for where we are in this election season?
Well, she's doing something right now that candidates usually have to do during the primary season and then at the beginning of their general election campaign if they win that. She, of course, skipped all of those steps. She's in the convincing voter stage, the persuasion stage, the hey, I'm Kamala Harris. She's had to say, I don't know if you've noticed this, if you've ground your way through all of her interviews she's done over the last 2.5 weeks, but almost every one of them, she says this it's like super mundane thing, which is, I'm running for president of the United States, which is how she answers some questions. But more to the point, she really kind of is still in that stage where she is trying to reach out to people who have never heard of her and just explain what her case is, going places where she's been unable to reach voters before. And it's not out of confidence like you might see with some candidates who will go into the lion's den because they're feeling so good. It's out of desperation. As one longtime Republican campaign consultant I talked to pointed out, they are clearly seeing something in the crosstabs of their fancy internal polling that's really making them worried. Now compare that to Donald Trump, who appears tanned and relaxed. He's out there basically trying to gin up support to tell all those voters who we know like to see positive headlines about him, know like to hear that he's doing well, that they don't miss voting, that they are, as one Washington Examiner editor put it, willing to crawl over broken glass to vote for him. Where if a kid gets sick at school or there's inclement weather or something goes wrong at work, they don't just put it off and say, oh, don't worry. He's in the tuning up the base and making sure people do that. And if you look at his campaign schedule, that really comes across. He had a rally over the weekend in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. I last saw him when in Latrobe, Pennsylvania in 2020. Back then, there was a line 10 miles long, or maybe even a little bit longer, for people trying to get in to see him. And he won that county by, I think, 7 points or something. He's in Latrobe because he needs every one of those people to turn out in Pennsylvania. Compare that to Kamala, it's a different story.
Okay, so that's Donald Trump. Then let's go to what he was doing that had everybody's attention over the weekend when he was serving fries at McDonald's in the drive-thru in Pennsylvania. Let's watch.
Well, that's a good-looking group. Hello, everybody. This is not a normal situation, is it, huh? How are you? What a good-looking family. How did you produce those good-looking kids? Oh, they look like the wife. They look like the wife. How are you? Nice to see you. That's great. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. And there'll be no charge. Trump is paying for it. Is that okay? Oh, you're doing some extra stuff.
Oh, okay, great.
This is all on Trump.
Oh, all on Trump.
I'm allowed to do that, right?
Yeah. Let's check and make sure it's everything you said it would be.
It better be. It's going to be the best you ever. I made it myself.
People were out there saying they got an extra chicken nugget in their order. People were loving it. Bedford, what did you think?
This is the kind of move that I think is actually going to change the future of American campaign politics in the way that everyone who wants to win a primary has to go to the Iowa State Fair.
That's right, they do.
In the future, everyone who wants to run for president is going to have to do a stint as an everyday worker. And it took 60 years or so for somebody to finally take Andy Warhol's advice. That theatrical person who was so great at getting attention for his antics wrote years ago, decades ago, that if a president of the United States just cleaned a toilet, just did an everyday job, just filled French fries, flipped a burger, showed that there was no job beneath him, that would go wild. He was talking about all of the different things that are left on the ground for people who are running for office to easily just pick up and get that kind of publicity. It was incredible. And it's as some non-political friends or even Democrat friends of mine pointed out, they'd not seen him look so happy and just kind of contented and relaxed as you see. If you're Republican advisors or you're people who are betting on him winning, you see that face, you see this reaction, And you see the way the left wing is trying to pretend it just didn't even happen. Well, that's a good place to be just 15 days out from an election.
Chris, I mean, it really does seem like he was happy with those fries. I mean, even when he's putting it in, you could just see him thinking, "I've always wanted to do this." There was something that was just very authentic about it. I think this is a remarkable moment because if you remember, it wasn't that long ago when even he was still thinking along normal lines. And I mean, I know this because he said things to my face when I tried to make this case with many others that, hey, they're squeezing you, think outside the box about media. And at the time, he was still kind of thinking, well, I can get on 60 Minutes anytime I want. But he knew that wasn't quite right. He was triangulating, right? And what he's done over the last few years is really remarkable because now it's all out. This is the most modern, presidential campaign we've ever seen. He's going on podcasts. He's doing this McDonald's thing. He's like Trump unbound, and you can't stop him. And just like in 2016, he now has control over the news cycle again, which is what Twitter gave him before, right? He could go on Twitter, he could sit on the pot and say something, and everyone would freak out, and they just couldn't stop doing it. And now he's doing that, and he has this momentum. So all of that being said, 60 Minutes, the failing 60 Minutes is in the news now, where he's accused them of deceitfully editing, right, this Harris interview, and they say that it's false, and they refuse to release it. Are they gonna? Is that just gonna be the end of it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're a private company, and they're going to do that. They're not going to allow this to come out. They're completely invested in protecting Kamala's image. They think it's important for them to protect their own. If they don't talk about it on CBS, then a lot of the people who tune into that program or tune into that network aren't going to hear about it. I talked to multiple voters in 2020 who didn't even hear about the Hunter Biden laptop story until after the election, when it was finally covered, because these things were pushed down. And the media doesn't feel like they're doing a good enough job. Like you said, Trump is out there not even generating these headlines with controversy, but generating them with trips down to the local convenience store in New York, trips to the McDonald's, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers game where people are chanting Trump, 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 Trump over and over again. He doesn't have to be courting the controversy. It's kind of traditional, but he's doing it in a way that other politicians can't. And then if you look at the Democrat side, and you start to say, well, maybe Republicans are stuck in this bubble. Maybe there's actually good polling coming out there. You can't really see that much of it being cited. You've got on the one side, Democrats in the media pointing to polls from July and August to try and justify bright spots they can see. And then you see this other really even more, I think more insidious than the CBS just lying game, which is every single day, pundits are going out and attacking Black men and white people for how they're going to vote, like as a group, as a race, as a people. It's allowed on MSNBC, it's allowed on CNN, it's allowed on CBS, and we're being told now, I think it's coming out of a little bit of desperation, that you must vote for Kamala Harris if you're a Black person, and you must vote for Kamala Harris if you're a white person. And anyone who does something different from that is betraying democracy or betraying their race or supporting slavery. That's not healthy political pushing. That is so far removed from chants at a football game or smiles at a McDonald's. It shows you a kind of just breakdown that's happening in Democratic talking points. So the media, which has been covering Trump negatively at increasing rates now for literally 8 years, at the same time, you see his favorability rising and rising and rising. In complete opposition to that, they have sacrificed themselves on this and not actually taken down Trump.